Welcome to The Alignment Show, featuring conversations with folks who have taken steps to identify their highest values and align their lives around them. Time on this earth is not unlimited, and you may be seeking to make sure you spend your time on things that matter to you. These conversations will encourage you and support you in doing so. Now, let's meet this week's guest on The Alignment Show.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it might be in your part of the world. Welcome to The Alignment Show. This week, my name is Don King. I am host. And things look a little different this week for those of you who are on with us through video, either live or through replay. Nothing's really any different for the audio folks, but you know how that goes. And I'll talk a little bit about why that is. We have a little different show than what we had planned today. We've had some tech issues a little earlier in the week. This week's guest was having some challenges with our usual interface that we use for the podcast. So we set it up to be able to use Zoom. So things are going to look different for that reason. And then at the last minute, there were some other tech issues that came up. So our guest is not going to be able to be with us. Since we already had it set up to broadcast using Zoom, then we have to go with that, because if I changed things back, it would make a completely different link, and that would mess everything up as far as the platforms like LinkedIn and YouTube and Facebook. So here we are, and we'll talk about the lessons to get out of that as we go on here. Our guest for today, and you'll see from the preview stuff, we had planned to talk with Lee Zimmerman. Writer and podcaster and music entrepreneur. We're rescheduling Lee. We'll get him on a little bit later, but the show must go on. And so today we've got, as I said, a little different kind of look, a different program than what we had scheduled, but we do have a program, and we have a few things to think about here today. I will, as usual, we will recognize our sponsors, but I'm going to bring up some about the sponsors a little bit later. I will tell you that, of course, as always, the show is sponsored by my books, which you can find at donking.com/books. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. And then our other usual sponsor, frequent sponsor, is the Go Giver Success Alliance. They're actually on a hiatus right now as far as memberships. Memberships are closed. But I'm going to share the link for that a little bit later because who knows when you will see this or hear this. The membership may be open again, and then you'll be able to take advantage of it. So in any case, a couple of things as we're getting started here. Father's Day is coming up as we're recording this. Today is June the 7th. Father's Day this year is June the, is it 14th? Whatever that Sunday is. Let's see, 7th, 16th, I guess, June the 16th. And the Sparklight Chronicles, which are the two books that I have in the series out right now, includes The Way of the Three-Year-Old Why and Medium Weld. Both of them, especially The Way of the Three-Year-Old Why, involves a father's dilemma and a father's love. Father's love certainly comes into play in both of them. And so it would make a really good Father's Day gift for you. I am going to set up a link as soon as we get off the broadcast here, and I'll be able to share that link before we get finished here, or at least I'll put it in the show notes, to where you can get a package if you want to. So there'll be links to both of the books, but if you want to get them as a package deal, then that will be a really good Father's Day gift this year. It's also because of the time of the year. Again, as we're broadcasting this, live, recording this, yesterday was the 80th anniversary of D-Day, June 6th, 1944, when, 44, I got the date right, 45? Oh, I'm messing up my history here. I think it was 44. And I think about my own father with Father's Day. Dad would have been a part of that assault. his unit, the 504th Infantry, and I can't think of the right term right now. He was part of the 82nd Airborne Division. They took a lot of casualties going into Normandy that day. It happened that some months prior, Dad had been captured during the Battle of Anzio. And so he was in a German prisoner of war camp at that time. In an odd way, that was fortunate for him because he may not have survived D-Day otherwise. So this time of year, I think a lot about Dad. I think a lot about those men, young men, 18, 19, 20 years old, who sacrificed so much. And without getting political, I worry about whether we are facing another time such as that. And so I don't want to forget what was involved in D-Day, what led to the need for that invasion, the sacrifice that those young men made, the horror visited upon the world. By the time the next 10-year type anniversary comes around, there almost certainly will be no remaining witnesses to that. There were just a few this year, almost all of the veterans over 100 years old. We have to work at not forgetting. So that's my statement for the day. In any case, as we move into thinking more along the lines of the alignment show and what we're here for, one of the lessons that I've learned from today's actions and from some other things going on is a reminder of one of the lessons that our disabled daughter has taught us. That is to make your plans, but hold them lightly. And here's how this kind of comes together, especially as you're thinking about bringing your own life into alignment with your values. I've already talked about the need to switch to Zoom today. We've talked about how the guest couldn't be here. I thought about just not doing the show. But, one of my mentors, Mark Leslie Lefebvre, has never missed an episode, even when he had to broadcast sick. May not have been quite on schedule, but the show must go on. Other things going on in my life this week. We've talked about in the newsletter about how we have some major plumbing work supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen yesterday, and then it got rescheduled. It was supposed to happen today. It got rescheduled. Things happen. There's all kinds of things that come into play there. And yet, I think it was Woody Allen who said 80% of success is showing up. Part of where this comes into play is recognizing the difference between goals and missions. Now, we could spend a whole episode on this. We're not going to dig into it real deeply right now, but this is something I learned from an older book entitled Life 101. And the way to get a handle on this is sort of like this. Life's mission may be something sort of like go west. Missions don't end. Goals are waypoints in fulfilling a mission. So goals are achieved. They're sort of like mile markers. So if my life's mission is west, then today it might be Nashville, and then it would be Little Rock, and then someplace in Kansas. And you see, you keep going in this particular mission, we would eventually come back to the starting place. It doesn't mean that the mission is finished. It means that the mission continues, the goals update. Maybe now the goal becomes St. Louis and then Denver. You see what I mean? Life 101 also indicated, and it's been a long time since I read it, so I apologize to the authors if I'm misrepresenting anything. But one of the differences here is that the goals can shift. The mission continues. Missions are discovered. Goals are set. I hope you see the relationship here. And so our mission on the Alignment Show, which is to support you in living your values, to value your life, we have a goal with that each week. The goals can shift, but our missions remain. And you see, realizing this difference allows you to make constant adjustments. It's like trimming your sails. Let's switch our metaphors here. Okay, if I'm trying to have a boat cross the river, the current is constantly moving, the water's moving, the wind is shifting. I am constantly having to adjust. But if I know what I'm doing with a boat, if my point is over there, taking the current into account, I have to steer this way, and I'm constantly adjusting, but I can arrive at the point that I'm aiming for. And so our show today has not gone the way we intended for it to go, but it is still helping us to carry out our mission. Now, speaking of the show and our mission, let me go ahead and deal with some practical stuff here. We are going to be changing formats on the Alignment Show. It's not just using Zoom. This is a one-time thing, although, it could happen again, I suppose. The change is that we're going to move to a recorded format. You guys know, if you're regular listeners, that I like doing the live shows because I like the feel of live. I like the conversational aspect. But there are certain challenges with that. It gives more of an opportunity for Murphy's Law to pop up. Now, my wife hates it when I talk about Murphy's Law. And if you don't know what that is, almost everybody does. But just in case, Murphy's Law says if anything can go wrong, it will. She hates it when I bring up Murphy's Law. But you see, I think Murphy's Law is like gravity. It is a law of the universe. And just like gravity, you can't get rid of it, but you can account for it. That's how we manage to fly airplanes, despite gravity. Okay? Just figuring for the impact of Murphy's Law. You can plan for it. I kind of think it's not the same thing, but I kind of think pessimists might be some of the happiest people in the world, true pessimists, because no matter what happens, it's better than what you expected. So you're always pleasantly surprised. Okay, so this is not the same thing, but taking Murphy's Law into account, we can still achieve, if not the goal, at least the mission. And so by doing the recorded format, it actually takes more work on my part, but it also heads off some of the tech issues that we might have, like what happened this morning. Okay. Now, along with that, we have planned, in order to be able to make that shift, we're planning on taking August off. So there will be no episodes of the Alignment Show during the month of August 2024. July will be spotty. I have not scheduled guests. The scheduling is still open. We will continue to do them the way that we've been doing them. So there may be weeks in July where we don't have an episode either. We'll just kind of see how that goes. But August, we're taking off. Maybe September. I'm not sure. Another one of my mentors from afar who's been on this program, as Mark Leslie Lefebvre has been, Kevin Tumlinson has been on. He has a podcast with a number of episodes called Wordslinger. He decided to take a break sometime back. Wound up being a 3-year break. We're not going to do that here. At least, I hope not. As I said, make your plans, but hold them lightly. Things could change. But my intention is for us to be back in September, maybe October. We will have a shorter program. The running joke for a long time here has been that we have a 30-minute program that typically runs about 45 minutes. So we're going to keep things within that 20 to 30-minute frame. And that will be more possible because we will be recording the episodes. So I'll have a little more control over that stuff. We will continue to schedule guests who have aligned their lives with their values as examples to you, as inspiration, figuring out how they did it, just having a good conversation and letting you take part in that, which I think is the way to go. So those are the plans for the Alignment Show coming up. As I've mentioned, the Go Giver Success Alliance, which I will have the link in the show notes, currently closed to membership. Don't know how long it's going to be closed, but they will open up before too long. I will also put a link to the various books that are involved in the Sparklight Chronicles, because I do think they would make a good Father's Day gift. If I hadn't written it myself, I would love to get one of them. And next week, we have a guest scheduled. His name is Jim Stovall. Jim has been a big influence in my life. He is a retired journalism professor, the author of numerous textbooks, nonfiction books, and 2 novels. If you do much writing, you will hear that you really ought to focus in order to make sales. But I appreciate Jim because he's like me with a variety of interests. He's a beekeeper, as a matter of fact. We're going to dig into that some. He writes a weekly newsletter on various topics, including writing, history, literature, and baseball. Now, Jim told me that retirement offered him opportunities he did not have while spending time making a living, paying a mortgage, advancing professionality, etc. The things you have to do during a working career. And so this is a realignment that I think will be an inspiration to us. In fact, I plan to go to a launch party this afternoon for volume 4 of a book entitled Vietnam Voices, Stories of East Tennesseans Who Served in Vietnam, 1965 to 1975. And that's co-authored by Jim Stovall. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll have Jim on next week. Since I'm on Zoom, things are not only different in terms of how things look, but they're also different in terms of how we do things like the bumpers around the beginning and the ending of the show. So I've got to line that up here, folks, but we want to continue our tradition. And so once again, I welcome you here this week. Hope that this has been useful to you in some fashion. We will be next week with Jim Stovall. And looking forward to seeing you again on the Alignment Show, where we help you to live your values so you can value your life. Now, let me see if I can get this video started. Okay, switch over to there. This is like running a starship sometimes. Okay, share screen. And I think this is it. We'll see you next week.
That's it for this week's episode of The Alignment Show. What has it inspired you to do in your own life? Whatever it is, take action now and take the first step. It will help you to talk with a friend about what you're thinking. Share confidencecultivators.com to spread the goodness. And remember to live your values and value your life. We will see you next week on The Alignment Show.